The impact will be decreased patrols in the county. We'll be responding likely mostly just to emergencies and then holding them down. Uh, the inability for us to conduct investigations in jurisdictions that already have police services. They'll have to rely solely on the jurisdiction. So we won't be taking reports in those areas as well. So it'll decrease our workload by doing that type of cut, but response times are going to go up. There's no doubt about that. And you may have to wait a day to make a report in some non-emergency style cases.
What do you anticipate will be affected more by these cuts, corrections or patrol?
Patrol will be affected more. And that's simply because they're going to take the brunt of the cuts. There's things that we can do in corrections for cuts, but we're limited. And we're limited because we have to have the staffing there for the inmates to be able to function and to make it safe inside the jail for our deputies in particular. So we're limited as to what we can cut from there.
You have mentioned that having two jail facilities stretches your staff even more than having one would, and clearly there were some proposals to consolidate that didn't go through.
Correct.
What is the county, to your knowledge, planning to do now with regard to these jail facilities, and especially the deplorable condition that Wesley seems to be in?
So there's no immediate plans right now, at least to my knowledge, about what the next step will be in order to take care of the corrections situation. I have a lot of ideas myself on what should be done, but we haven't had an opportunity yet to sit down and discuss those with the council.
But the jail funding millage failed back in August. So
It did.
nobody has sat down with you to talk about what to do now, because my understanding is we're under some danger of having a solution imposed on us by the state of Michigan if we don't fix up the jail facilities.
I'm not aware of the state of Michigan stepping in yet, but no, I have not had any conversations. What we've been dealing with in the immediacy is the cuts that had to be made as a result of the millage failing and not carrying on through the operations costs that were rolled into the previous millage. So we've been focusing on that right now, and I assume once we have this behind us, then we'll begin discussing on how we're going to move forward with the jail in the future.
Can you take us through the cuts that you're planning to make to reduce your budget, your proposed budget by $650,000?
Yes. So there will be 6 deputy positions lost, 4 of those positions on the road, and 2 of those positions in the corrections division. And we will also be cutting, buying 1 patrol car a year, and we will cut our uniform costs, some of our incidental costs that we have that are associated with training will also be eliminated, and maybe a little bit more capital miscellaneous costs that we'll be able to detract from that as well, that will get us to the $615,000 mark.
So how many full-time positions are we talking about in terms of cuts?
6.
6 full-time employees will be cut.
Correct.
Now, those are planned positions that currently are not filled.
That's correct.
And why are they not filled?
A number of reasons really, but probably the biggest reason is because of the looming millage. The fact that we had the millage moving on had caused us some concern with people that were actually applying for the job. So we would offer them a position only to find out later on that they would then pull their names out of the hat, so to speak. So that was a little bit of our problem. And then in addition to that, when it became a reality that this was going to occur, we put ourselves through kind of a self-imposed hiring freeze so that we wouldn't have to lay anybody off in the event that this occurred. So it's a little bit of both of those issues. Plus, it is just a difficult climate right now in law enforcement to get anybody into this line of work.
What have been the effects of these looming cuts and potential for failed millages on staff morale?
It's been very difficult. I've had a lot of different conversations with many staff members, and they feel it. They feel it. And, you know, it's a difficult job. In particular, law enforcement. It can be very taxing on you mentally, and the fact that there's looming cuts makes you feel as though you're not appreciated. And I think that's taken a toll on morale with a lot of the deputies. We do our best to try to make things as easy as possible on them. We have our peer support group. We discuss things with them on a routine basis, and we have an open door policy. In fact, I have an open door policy, and deputies often come in and speak to me about their concerns.
So we've had this millage question hanging over your head for the last almost 2 years. Effects on staff retention?
Oh, for sure. I know for a fact at least two left as a result of the looming millage question that we've had, just because they were worried that their job may be affected. And even though I gave them the best assurances that I could, they simply were not satisfied with that. And I understand that. You know, they have their personal lives to consider and their own economic feasibility to consider, and they didn't want to take a chance. And you know, in this climate where we have a difficult time attracting people and keeping people in law enforcement, it can be really difficult for people to believe, hey, I think he's telling me the truth. I don't think they necessarily thought I was lying, but I do understand where that apprehension comes from.
Is there any resentment on your part? I'll put it in a phrase it that way, that you're bearing the brunt of these cuts, basically, that come about as a result of funding that really is the responsibility of the county to secure.
Well, when you put it like that, I can understand why you would say it. There's a couple of things here. One is we were kind of dealt these cards, right? And I've said this to you before. It's one of those situations where previous administrations, previous county commissions elected to put this into an operations millage, and now we're reaping the benefits of it later on down the road. So it stands to reason that if the operations millage of the jail fails, then of course you take that operations cost out of the jail. So that stands to reason, and I can understand and accept that. On the other hand, we have to make sure that we fund our law enforcement services. We have to make sure that they're taken care of because this is critical for our community.
Well, the county is legally obligated to maintain a jail, if I'm not mistaken.
They are. They are legally obligated, correct.
So do you not feel that this is like a burden thrust on you that really should be properly on the plate of the commissioner?
Well, the money side of it is certainly the responsibility of the commissioners. They're the ones who provide me with the funding in order to be able to do this. So the burden of it, you know, that's an interesting phraseology. I'm not so sure that that I would agree with that phraseology in this context, just because of the fact that my burden is to make sure that we have adequate staffing, My burden is to make sure that we're adequately policing the county, and their burden is to make sure that I have the funds to do it.
Right. So by putting this on you, so to speak, go out and get support for this millage, or we cut your budget. That sounds more like they're putting it on you than on taking responsibility for funding I was about to say your jail. It's not your jail. It's the county's jail.
It is a county's jail. I think that uh, I think that it's important for me to do all that I can uh, to whatever that may be to promote public safety and the welfare of the sheriff's office. So if that means I need to go out and campaign for a millage, then that's what I'll do. Whatever I have to do, I will do. Um, is that their responsibility? I think sure, it does fall on their shoulders as well. I think it's an all hands on deck movement that has to be uh, not just the sheriff's burden, but their burden as well, to use your term. You know, it's one of those deals where they did provide funding for us to run a legitimate campaign with the millage that went up in August. Um, and that was incredibly important. And I think it got us, razor thin close, but we needed more.